For the first time in a long time, Manchester City, despite their defeat to Manchester United last week, they will be supporting Manchester United with their full heart against Arsenal at the Emirates. That is the toughest match for the weekend. It's going to be a very, very tough one that a lot will be at stake. Manchester United needs to get back into the normal winning form, under their new coach, second win in the second game. While for Arsenal, the title is their prolonged goal. So winning against Manchester United, remember the last big game they played at home was a draw against Liverpool, and that didn't sit well with a lot of Arsenal fans in terms of creativity, in terms of goal scoring and a lot. Now, they've not had the best of results in the last few weeks, or I would say last week. Against Nottingham Forest, Arsenal drew blank, and that was not the best of results. Arsenal struggled a bit, to pick up 3 points against Bournemouth away from home. Remember, so this game against Manchester United is a huge one for Arsenal. Good, they had a very good outing in the Champions League with a win away from home against Inter Milan. Playing against Manchester United at home, you don't know what to expect, because this Manchester United side, the likes of Mbeumo is back, the likes of Ahmad is back, but it is a new coach, it is a new system, it is a new strategy. You don't know what to expect. You don't know the kind of formation or the type of system of play Manchester United will be bringing to the Emirates. But one thing remains certain: Arsenal must win this game if and only if they are serious, to take advantage of Manchester City's slump. Manchester City has not been in the best of form in the last couple of weeks. Now they have the chance, to do better this weekend, and they'll be playing against Wolves. So that's definitely, I would not say it's an outright win for Manchester City, but they have a huge chance of winning that game. But for Manchester United, going away to Arsenal, it has not been the best in that stadium for Man U in the last few games. But Arsenal needs to do everything. Their attack needs to be sharp. There need to be goals. Their defense needs to be very, very solid. Remember, they started this season very well, especially in defense. And the good thing for Arsenal is that they've not lost any game at home. So that is a very good record going on for Arsenal. Now, they've been doing well at home against big sides. Manchester City could not defeat Arsenal at home. A lot of big side that has gone over there to the Emirates has not defeated Arsenal at home. And also, let's not forget that they went away to Manchester United in the first game of this season, and they won. One goal to no. Even if it was not a convincing performance, but the result was what matters. Now, this time around, they need to show Manchester United that winning them in the first leg was not a fluke, and they can do it again in front of their own fans in a very comfortable environment against Manchester United. So it's going to be a tough game. I'm going to be giving my predictions on this game, towards the end of this video. So stick around, but it will be a tough game. Arsenal needs to come out with their A game. Good thing for Arsenal, no much injury problems. The first team are good. Everybody is in form. Everybody is fit rather, and Arsenal needs to do everything possible to get this victory. Give me your predictions first concerning this game, while I preview every other game. Chelsea will be going away, against Crystal Palace. Liverpool will be going away at Bournemouth. We're going to be touching all of these games in this episode. So stick around, for the previews and prediction of match day 23 EPL games. Now, the first game we're going to be looking at is an early kickoff, and that will be West Ham against Sunderland. Now, for West Ham, they had a very good victory against Tottenham Hotspur last week, which it was an incredible one. And, with their new signings and keeping the guy that scored last week, the striker, who was on the verge of joining Everton, Callum Wilson. It was a very good one. He scored. He gave them the victory last week. Some of you who also did very well, who scored a goal last week against Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur needs him. Tottenham Hotspur wants to buy him from that club. But trust me, they are rejuvenating. They are picking points. They want to survive. We have few games to go. So if they must survive this season, these are the kind of games they must pick up results. Now, they were playing against the Sunderland team who has been a revelation this season. Very good team this season, both home and away. Remember, they defeated Chelsea away from home. All right? So they're a very good side as well. Now, these two sides are I would say, Sunderland sits 9th, West Ham sits 18th. West Ham are fighting for their lives at this point, and they must do everything to pick up results. The head-to-head between these two sides has not been too much. you see the likes of Isidore scoring, you see the likes of Bobby scoring for Sunderland, for West Ham. Good to see Callum Wilson, Somerville, and their new signing, I think a winger who, have been doing well since this season as well, in the last couple of games rather. So it's a very, very good one. They've got some couple of results at home, but the last game they played at home, which was against Nottingham Forest, they lost that game. Before then, they drew against Brighton. Before then, it was a loss against Fulham. Before then, it was a loss against Liverpool. So it's been either near or there. Their form at home has not been the best. Now they need to change this week. Now for Sunderland, it was a huge loss away from home last week against Brentford. Before then, they've been picking up draws. In fact, they've drawn so many games already this season. One against Spurs, against Brighton, against Liverpool. They've been drawing games. But this game is going to be a tough one. I do not see West Ham losing this game. In fact, to me, I feel this game is going to end in a draw. Yeah, my prediction for this game is West Ham 1, Sunderland 1. Now to the next game, Burnley against Tottenham. For Burnley, it's not been the best. In fact, the first leg ended in a 3-0 victory for Tottenham for the first game of the season, if you remember that. And Burnley has been poor ever since. They've picked on 1 or 2 results here and there at home, but their last game was against Manchester United, and it was a draw at home. This is against a Tottenham side who has a better away record than a better home record. Richarlison is injured. Now they are getting goals also from defense, from the captain and all of that. The attack is not really producing as it should. Sending the likes of Johnson to Crystal Palace was not the best for them. Now for Burnley, they've picked up some kind of form at home. Good to see Foster back from the Nations Cup. They've not won any game in the last 5 against Tottenham Hotspur. In fact, Tottenham Hotspur has maximum record against them. Will the game be easy? No. Tottenham Hotspur have rejuvenated at home. Right? In fact, they've picked up 2 draws at home in the last 3 games. And that's a very good one. Their last game was a 1-1 draw away at Liverpool. So that is another good result. So 3 draws in the last 4 games. To me, it's not really that bad, but they need to start winning games. But can they win against Tottenham? That is a tough question. In the last 5 games in all competition, they've only won 1, draw 2, lost 2. While for Tottenham Hotspur, they've only won 1 as well. So it's not as good as you think for Tottenham Hotspur. In fact, they lost in the last minute of the game against Bournemouth. So to me, I feel it will go against Burnley. And I feel Tottenham Hotspur will take this one. So my prediction for this game is Burnley 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Now to the next game, Fulham against Brighton. It was a good victory for Fulham the last time they played at home against Chelsea. Also, it was a very good one for them in which they draw against Liverpool. So the last 2 games at home was a draw against Liverpool and a win against Chelsea, which is a very, very good record in my own opinion. I think this will be tough. This will be tough because Brighton is not that team. Yes, they score goals, but away from home, how have they fared? That is the huge question. How have they fared away from home? Fulham are wounded. They lost their last game away from home against Fulham, against Leeds United. I gave them a chance in that game, but they lost. Now, playing against Brighton, it will be close one. Both sides will score. So if you want to be on the safe side, both sides will score. Let me go back a bit. For Burnley against Tottenham Hotspur, Tottenham win or draw, or if you want to play goals over 1. Now for West Ham against Sunderland, West Ham win or draw, and over 1 as well, or home to score rather. Now, I think Fulham with the likes of Chukwueze back, Batsi back, he will be back. I think they have more firepower right now to play against Brighton. Brighton sits 11, Fulham sits 11. Brighton sits 12, Fulham sits 11th on the log. So you don't have a lot of points, differentiating these 2 sides. Something tells me it's a draw, but I'm not going to give in on that. I'm going to give it to Fulham. I want to see Harry Wilson score again like he did, against Chelsea and also against Liverpool. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Fulham should take this one. I have two scores in my mind, 2-1 and 3-1. Something tells me 3-1. Something also tells me 2-1. So my prediction for this game is Fulham 2, Brighton 1. Now to the next game, Manchester City against Wolves. For Manchester City, bad run of form the last couple of games, no win in the last 4 or the last 3. Yeah, in the last 4 in all competition, no win. And in the last 3 games in the last 4 games in the Premier League, no win. It's a bad record right now. Draw against Sunderland, draw against Chelsea, draw against Brighton, and a loss away from home against Manchester United. Now, that was their last game rather. Now, Manchester City definitely would, on paper, they would take this one. On paper, they should win this one. This is the kind of game you expect the likes of Semenyo to score, the likes of Haaland to score. This is that type of game. But will it be easy against a Wolves side that is fighting to survive? No, it will not be easy. Now, the record speaks against Wolves, right? But Manchester City are playing at home in front of their fans. I would love to see Gay getting a debut, and whereas that would be a good one. And they need to chase. If Manchester United would do them a favor, they need to win their own game, do their own part, and start chasing Arsenal. Now they need to win this one. Wolves have been getting results in the last couple of games. A draw against Everton, a draw against Man U at last away from home, and also and that's been a good one. They won that also at home against West Ham, 3-0. Good result for them as well. So let's see what happens in that game. Manchester City sits second, Wolves sits 20th. So you could see the margin is very, very wide. I think Manchester City will win. Now the results is what matters. Something tells me 2-0. Something tells me 3-0 for Manchester City. So to pick one, my prediction is a win for Manchester City. Now my prediction for this game is Wolves will sit back and defend for their lives. That is where the goals will reduce. My prediction is Manchester City 2, Wolves 0. Even if something tells me 3-0. Now to the next game, Bournemouth against Liverpool. For Bournemouth, losing their talisman in Semenyo is a huge problem for them. But they are playing against a Liverpool side who has rejuvenated and no loss in over 8 games, which is a good one for Liverpool in all competition. Now, Bournemouth sits 15th. They love to draw games. Liverpool sits 4th, which is a good one, climbing up the table. 2 wins in their last 5 games and 3 draws, no loss for Liverpool. While for Bournemouth, 1 win and 2 draws, 2 losses in all competition. Now, the last game Liverpool played was a draw at home against Bournemouth. Let's not forget. Against Burnley, let's not forget. Now, for Bournemouth, the last game they played, can't really find that here. But I don't think it was a win. I think it was on a Monday night there, but I can't remember. But I don't think it was a win. But let's get back to this. I think Bournemouth will give Liverpool a run for their money. It will be a headache. But when it comes to the record, Liverpool has had the better hand and the better, better when it comes to stats than Bournemouth. Now, what happens in this game? Bournemouth, their last game they played at home was a win against Spurs. Before then, they gave Arsenal a tough time. Before then was a draw against Burnley and another draw against Chelsea. So 1 loss at home in the last 4, which is not a bad one, right? Now for Liverpool, they've also picked up result away from home. It was a draw against Arsenal away from home, a draw against Fulham away from home, another draw against Burnley. It is not the best of results. So my prediction for this game is another draw. Something tells me 2-1 Liverpool win. But I'm going to be realistic. Based on the facts that Bournemouth is playing at home. Yes, Semenyo might not be there. But still, that is a big loss for them. I want to give them a chance. But the Liverpool's form is a very, very huge one. But away from home, they've still been that team that's really not been there. It took a red card against Tottenham Hotspur for Liverpool to get something. And they also drew against Leeds. So my prediction for this match is a draw. Bournemouth 2, Liverpool 2. Now to the next game, Brentford against Nottingham Forest. For Brentford, I'm going to rush the remaining fixtures. For Brentford, they are a team that is very good at home. In fact, they demolished Sunderland 3-0 at home in the last game. They're a very, very good side at home. They know how to pick up results at home. Now, against Nottingham Forest, can they win? Nottingham Forest results away from home has not been the best, but they won against West Ham the last time they were away from home. But it has really not been the best in the last couple of games. Now, what happens in this game? The first leg ended in 3-1 victory for Brentford. Now, for Nottingham Forest rather. Now they are playing away from home at Brentford. I think I need to see the likes of Igwe Sidor scoring again at home, because that is where he loves to score goals. That is where they've picked up most of their points this season. You know, Damsgaard brilliantly this season. Shad doing brilliant this season as well. So my prediction for this game is Nottingham Forest. I don't see them winning. I say revenge. Brentford 3, Nottingham Forest 1. Now to the next game, Crystal Palace against Chelsea. For Crystal Palace, it's not going well over there at Crystal Palace. In fact, they've not won any game in the last 5 in all competition. Their coach says he's leaving. Their striker says he's leaving in Mateta. They've already lost McGay this season, you know, and they are not in the best of form in the last couple of games. So it's a very huge worry over there, you know, for them. Now, can they spring up surprises? To be a tough one. They've lost series of games at home. Against Spurs, they lost. Against Manchester City, they lost. The last game at home was a draw against Fulham. You know, they lost at home to Manchester United. They drew at home against Brighton. It has not been the best. It has really, really not been the best. Now, for Chelsea going away, new coach, picking up results. They might not have been playing well, but Chelsea has been carrying out results. They pick up maximum point against Paphos. They win against Brentford, even if they didn't play too well in those games. Now, is that the new pattern of Chelsea? Let's see what happens. Now, going away from home has been Chelsea's problem this season. Let's start from the last previous games. They lost away from home at Fulham. A draw away from home at Manchester City. Against Brighton, it was a goalless draw. They've picked up. It was a draw. They lost against Leeds also. Burnley was a win, you know. But it's away from home. Chelsea has been a worry. Chelsea has been a huge, huge worry. But this is against Crystal Palace that is struggling at this point. Can Chelsea take advantage? That is a question. That's the question rather. The first game ended in a goalless draw. Chelsea 6-6. They need to win to climb up the table and chase Manchester United and chase teams that are ahead of them. While for Crystal Palace, they sit 13th. They don't want to go down anymore. They want to keep picking up points against teams playing at home. Now, I have 2 scores in my head because this is going to be a tough one. I have a 1-1 draw in my head. 1-1 draw. In fact, I have a draw in my head, I should say. But I don't want to be emotional. But can Chelsea pick up some? With the way Chelsea played in the last game, I want to say 2-1 victory for Chelsea. I really, really want to say that. But I have to be realistic and take emotions away. My prediction for this game is a draw. Crystal Palace 1. All right, let me change that. My prediction for this game is Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 2. Now to the next game, Newcastle against Aston Villa. Aston Villa lost their last game, which was a huge shock. And that game was against Everton at home, which was a huge shock. It was an upset. Now, while for Newcastle, their last game as well was a goalless draw against Wolves away from home. A shock as well. In fact, they have not been having good away games. Now, playing at home against Sunderland, against Aston Villa will be tough. The first game ended in a goalless draw. And Aston Villa was at home in that game. I think that was one of the first games of the season. In fact, the first game of the season. Aston Villa are 3rd on the log, while Newcastle are 8th on the log. The winning run of Aston Villa has 3rd. In fact, it took a single goal from Sancho for them to win their last game in the Europa League. I think this game will be tough. It will be very, very close. It will be very close between these two sides. Nick Votimada has not been scoring. I think so. In the last couple of games. I don't want to say their goals are dried up. I would say they would score, but my prediction for this game is a draw. Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 2. Now to the next game, Arsenal against Manchester United, which I already gave, holistic view on. Now, I'm not going to talk too much on this. I think Manchester City will be counting on Manchester United to do them a favor, while Arsenal will want to extend their lead at the top of the table. With everything I've said at the start of this video concerning this game, I think it's going to be a tough one. My prediction for this game is Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1. Now to the next game, Everton against Leeds. Everton sits 10th on the log, Leeds sits 16th on the log. The first game ended in a 1-0 victory for Leeds, which was the first game of the season. I think this week is about first game of the season. Now, it's going to be on a Monday night. I want to expect goals because it's on a Monday night. But you see Everton, I don't like to predict Everton because they spring up surprises every time. Every time they spring up surprises. Everton sits 10th, Leeds sits 16th on the log. Leeds have been on an incredible run of form the last couple of games, even though they lost their last game away from home against Newcastle. But my prediction are 2 scores. But I want to give Everton a chance instead of saying what is in my head, which is a goalless draw. I want to give Everton a chance. My prediction for this game is Everton 1, Leeds United no. So give me your own predictions also in the comment section. Remember, predictions are not always 100% correct. I'm not the one playing the game. I'm just predicting. But my predictions are always good. Also, don't forget to bet responsibly. And I'm not liable to any bets that didn't go well. So don't forget to follow this page, like and share this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell. Until I come away again next time, I remain your boy Mike Way. Stay cool. Cheers.